This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to welcome you into the show. It is a Thirsty Thursday, and we hope you are thirsting for what we got going on the show today. But first of all, I want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review so everybody and your mama and them can know how we get down, because just let them know how great we are, because we know we bring it to you each and every day, and we got some good stuff for you today. We're going to start off with we made some predictions yesterday, T, and I think we were right on point as to who watches and pays attention to our show, because it looks like Marcell Ozuna was listening as he did his thing last night. He got the praise going. Also, the Atlanta Hawks, what are they going to do in Summer League? Can Nate McMillan make some adjustments? We'll talk about exactly what those could be. And secondly, and we have to do the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are in a space where there's another quarterback in the NFC South. What does that mean for the Falcons? We'll talk about that. And last but not least, Ja Morant out here doing Ja Morant type things. We'll explain all of that in For the Culture. But first, we have to start off with the Atlanta Braves. They get a win last night, 3-0. I love seeing A.J. Minter coming in and closing the door and shutting everything down like ain't nobody out there. But the main thing that really stood out to me last night was Marcell Ozuna getting the party started in the 5th inning with a solo home run. It looks like he's one of those streaky guys. If Marcell Ozuna gets going, this team could get really scary.
Yeah, because Max Fried was in a duel with Miles Michaelis for 5 innings. So Max Fried did his job, and all you could think of was, please don't do what you did to Charlie Morton. And when, they messed up what was an amazing outing for Charlie Morton. And Marcell Ozuna said, basically, not today. And Eddie Rosario said, I second that. So you appreciate what they did. And, of course, then Travis d'Arnaud completely closed the door one inning later to give him the 3-0. But, yeah, it's Marcell Ozuna. We were talking about that. How do you kind of mix and match him? Because when you look at him, it's literally like, okay, he has a 223 batting average. So what is it that you do with that? But when you dig into the batting average, you find out, well, you know what you got him for. You got him for home runs. You got him to hit the long ball, right?
Yes.
Get on base and get runs driven in, but drive it in with the long ball. So he did that last night. It's a solo shot, but he did it nonetheless. So, yeah, still a dilemma. There's still going to be that question of, okay, if he DHs, then what does that do for William Contreras on a night where he's not catching? Right? Is he going to go out and be in the outfield? Which, I mean, he showed that he's competent there. But you know what I think actually gives him, and this isn't a positive, so I want to be careful in the way I say this, but what gives Brian Snitker a little bit of breathing room is the fact that Adam Duvall is dealing with that hand injury. So when you think about those three people in the mix, constantly trying to figure out what do I do with Ozuna, Willie, d'Arnaud, that makes it a little bit easier because you have to let that injury kind of play out. And in the meantime, that coupled with you're going into the All-Star break, I believe that buys Brian Snitker some time to figure out how he manages that log jam, so to speak, at the DH position.
You know what? And it's something that, like, we definitely got to keep an eye on, because that's the beauty of having depth, right? That you can let people heal. You don't have to rush people back. And I think that speaks to Alex Anthopoulos, and building this roster in the way it was constructed, it has been constructed, and also Brian Snitker and how he's handled things. Like, we've always questioned him in the past about how he's handled rosters, playing guys too long, but the way this current roster is set up, that the Braves can they have the ability to tweak things a little bit and say, hey, let me try this out. Let me see how this works for a couple of games.
Yes.
So and that's just the beauty of where the Braves are, and you know, in Major League Baseball and in the East, as they are currently 2.5 games back. I know the Mets are that seat is getting a little bit hot. I started seeing some videos starting to come out on social media. I think they're a little scared. They're starting to get real out there.
Oh, yeah, and they should be. They absolutely should be, because after you saw, and really it was, once again, was one of those games where the Braves had a complete game, because it was a beautiful, it wasn't just a defensive play, obviously, to get that third out in the top of the ninth, but it was the beauty of the defensive play, and it's the beauty of, we get our 3 runs. We may only have gotten 5 hits, but we get the 3 runs that we need, and then you get what you get from Max Fried, and a little bit of a scare there with Max having to leave because of that tightness in his glute. But Brian Snicker said that was just for precautions, and that he'll be ready to go for his next start. So that to me was very encouraging. Not so much with Mike Soroka, man. I just, I get troubled when I hear that he gets hit by a comebacker, basically.
Right. Yeah.
As
Exactly.
he is during rehab. It hit him in the knee. The knee was bruised, but they're hoping and thinking that it's not a long-term issue. But it just makes me think, my God, this guy just cannot catch a break, Jarvis.
No doubt about it. It's hard to kind of look at it from that standpoint, because this is a guy that everybody is rooting for to come back. This is a guy that, even though the pitching rotation, it seems pretty locked in right now.
Yeah.
Maybe Ian Anderson is a guy you can maybe replace, but I don't think you want to tweak with that right now, especially for somebody, Mike Soroka, who hasn't, pitched, in a Major League Baseball game, in 2 years now. Yeah. So I think that's something that you don't want to rush, but it seems like it's something that can, maybe hamper him. But like you said, the way this roster is constructed, no need to rush. But before we talk about what Nate McMillan and the Atlanta Hawks and what type of adjustment he's going to make in the Summer League, tell the folks about what we got going on with Blue Nile.
Yes, so I'd like to introduce you guys to BlueNile.com, the original online jeweler. So if you're looking to get engaged or gift someone with fine jewelry, visit this website and become a Blue Nile customer today. Now, at BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all life special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at pieces you won't find at a traditional jeweler. So there are 2 parts to this business. Now, we talked about the wedding jewelry, so that's engagement rings and bands, and everyday fine jewelry, diamond jewelry, or cocktail rings when you're going out to a 5-star restaurant. And hey, I just had a birthday, so a pearl gemstone necklace would be a good look. I'm just saying, for anybody who's interested, BlueNile.com. But whether you're ready to pop the question or you're
hook a sister up.
Yeah, I mean, go on and do that. Shoot a shot. A milestone moment. A fine jewelry as unique as her, with the modern convenience of online shopping. Not BlueNile.com is your place. It's simple. Their online tool is actually very simple to use. You can choose the diamond shape, size, clarity, style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. It's one of a kind. In fact, I saw one on BlueNile.com that caught my eye. It was a 4.01 carat Asher cut diamond. I thought it was a very good look. So, I mean, I can dream, right?
Oh, yeah. No, dream away.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I ain't got to buy it.
I know, right?
Gonna need that $50, yeah.
For those who are shooting their shot, be really wary of that 4.01 Asher diamond. But if you're looking for fine jewelry, again, but having trouble choosing, literally, they have jewelers on hand 24/7. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners, you get $50 off every purchase of $500 or more. Again, this podcast exclusively includes engagement, and use that code Locked On, Locked On, Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free. And what I really like is that it arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what is inside. So you can shop stress-free and find whatever you want at BlueNile.com.
All right, now the Atlanta Hawks. We know that Summer League is underway, and there are three guys who are first and second year players. I'll go ahead and name them. You got Sharif Cooper, who's a lot of people have their eye on and who a lot of people like, including myself, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yes.
AJ Griffin and Tyrese Martin, the guys. And, of course, we know that Jalen Johnson, due to the procedure that he's had, he won't be playing in Summer League this year.
Right.
Now, out of all those guys, which one has to prove to Nate McMillan that, hey, I need some minutes this year. I'm not trying to sit out for an entire season and play in the G League.
Yeah, I'm going to go with AJ Griffin because I think there's an upside there. And let me just clarify with Sharif Cooper. I hope to see him succeed, but there is a logjam when it comes there. Yeah, there's still a bit of a logjam.
Specifically with people who handle the ball, bringing the ball up the floor.
Your ball handlers, yeah, the Hawks got ball handlers.
Yes,
so
they do.
I feel okay with him if they still need to bring him along G League style. It's a two-way contract, fine. And Tyrese Martin, he's the unknown factor. We don't know what we want out of him because we don't know a lot about what he brings to the table. I think we're more familiar with AJ Griffin and where he can contribute the most with that 3-point game, but also a sneaky good defender. So he's the one I'm looking for who could potentially impress for Nate McMillan.
No doubt about it. And I think that on the other side of that, like, I know that, with Jalen Johnson not being there, I think that may slowly think this piece down. And I think that what I'm talking about is, like, Nate McMillan might not have the free reign to say, hey, you're not playing, you need to play in the G League. I'm not putting you in my rotation. So, and I think that's something we got to keep an eye out for those first and second year players this year as well. But coming up next, though, T, we have some very interesting things that just happened on NFC South Division. Baker Mayfield comes to the NFC South, specifically right up 85 for the Carolina Panthers. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? That's all next right here on ATL Day 1.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I'm Tenitra. This is Jarvis, and we appreciate you guys for continuing to support us and continuing to download our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And again, when you download it, make sure you give us a 5-star review. We appreciate and really do accept the feedback. So apparently there are others who accept our feedback and actually listen to some things that we try to share with them, as in the Atlanta Falcons, who made a slight move on their roster. They picked up D lineman Eddie Goldman, formerly of the Bears. So again, the Chicago to Atlanta train is still moving. And if you caught our
Atlanta Bears is full effect.
Full effect. If you caught our Wednesday episode, you already know that we were talking D-line and whether or not the Falcons needed to shore it up. And I suspect, Jarvis, that before we get into our other conversation, that you would agree this is a good move, especially because, okay, he had sacks. Do I need to say anything else? I mean, he touched the quarterback.
He actually had him, yeah.
There you go. So he right. So we definitely agree that that's a good move. But I suspect, Jarvis, that there might still be more.
No doubt about it, because when you think about, like, these are guys that are being brought in so you can have some numbers, right?
Yes.
Some guys who have experience, because like I said, you have guys that just hasn't played that much in the league, you know, and Marlon Davidson and Taquan Graham. So you want to be able to have those veterans just in case those guys get a little stage fright. Not saying they're scared to play football, but they aren't able to perform like you maybe expected them to coming into the season. So, and then you got the other piece that, once camps get started and once those cuts are made, that's another market that I'm sure Terry Fontenot is going to be well aware of and paying attention to, because these coaches, they have relationships upon relationships upon relationships where they are always talking to their buddies that may be coaching across the league, and I'm sure Terry Fontenot is still in contact with people down there in New Orleans, and say, hey, what about this guy that you let go?
Yes.
Do you think that he can be a guy that I can, have some interest in? So I think that this is a move that I'm not surprised by. Like we said, we talked about it, because you need a good mixture of veterans and rookies, because on the outside there are a lot of rookies. When I'm talking about outside edge rushers, specifically when you're talking about D'Angelo Malone, Arnold Ebiketie, And then, you got Ogundeji who's out there, and then you got the one vet in Lorenzo Carter. So
Right.
you want to continue to bring guys in because you never know who's gonna hit. You have no clue. Now, Eddie Goldman has been in the league for 7 years. He sat out the COVID year. He came back last year. He was okay, but he was able. A guy who's been with one team for 7 years. That means something. That has to account for something. So that means there's some consistency there, and that's what you're looking for when you talk about the Atlanta Falcons go.
Yeah, and to add to that, we saw, and my mind went to Marlon Davidson and Taquan Graham, but also my mind went to the secondary and how important the likes of bringing in, for example, an Eric Harris. Those veterans were critical too. When Isaiah Oliver was doing his thing, as an example, went down, and you needed those veterans to kind of come in. And then we saw even across the O-line that there were needs for veterans to at least, I'm going to say, pinch hit for
there you go.
a game here and a game there. So in addition, like you said, to shoring things up because you still have young talent back there, you also have to look at the fact that we have some oft injured talent that may need a backup at some point throughout the season. Now, speaking of backups, there's a backup that we don't know which one is going to be the backup because now there is a backlog in Carolina. But before we talk about that backlog, Jarvis is going to tell you about one of our great partners.
Boom, shakalaka. I got some good news, some great news for y'all. NBA Jam is back, baby. The leader in home retro arcade game is not only bringing the best game ever back, but they've made it bigger, even with wait for it, Shaq Edition machine. Now, for those who don't know, Shaq was the guy that on the original NBA Jam, that people were always trying to figure out what's the code to get Shaq. How can I get Shaq? When can I get Shaq? How can I get Shaq? That was the dude that was just not achievable. You couldn't get him. You couldn't figure out a way to get him. So, but Arcade 1-Up has made it easy just for you. So this is one of the first sports games ever to feature really digitized NBA licensed teams. And you can pre-order it now at arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number 1up.com for an estimated early September ship date. That is right around the corner. You'll have it right as football season get started. So tired of watching football? Go ahead and play that NBA Jam Shaq Edition. And now, check this out, though. They are giving away an NBA Jam Shaq Edition to a Locked On listener. Listener and viewer. They're going to give it to you. All you got to do is you can go to the console you can get this console for your man cave. Now go to arcade1up.com/lockedon. arcade1up.com/lockedon. You got until July the 8th. That's tomorrow. So go to arcade1up.com/lockedon. Don't miss out. Enter today. Who are you going to play with?
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, my nephew, one of my nephews is a gamer, so this is right up his alley. Now,
if you go and put that website in.
Yeah, right. But speaking of going up, apparently something is going on up I-85 that has made things, I'll say, a little interesting in the NFC South. So, of course, the Panthers gave Baker Mayfield a new zip code. So he will be in the Carolinas. He is coming down south. The Browns did agree to trade him to the Panthers for a 2024 conditional pick on Wednesday. And so he joins a Panthers team that already kind of has a lot of folks in the QB room, including Sam Darnold, as well as Matt Corral, who the Panthers selected in this year's draft in the 3rd round, right? So you look at the Panthers and you think, ooh, the Panthers now have some depth there. Well, Jarvis, all depth isn't good depth. Because 2 of those 3 flamethrowers are also the 2 guys who had the most interceptions since 2018. So that's a little bit of a challenge where I ask you, I'll use this term lightly, is Mayfield an upgrade or is this kind of a wash? Let's start there.
Ooh, that's a very good question. And I think that, let me just start here before I get the answer there, right? So let's just put this thing in perspective. Baker Mayfield was a guy who took the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs.
Right.
And that hadn't happened since 2002. And he actually won. He got to win. And that hadn't happened since 1994. So I think that his ability is a little elevated.
Yes.
And I'm not saying he's a bum, but I'm saying that if surrounded with a lot of talent, and he was surrounded around a lot of talent up in Cleveland. So, and I think that the reason whether or not he is a wash depends solely on the injury status or the health of Christian McCaffrey.
That's right.
All that matters. Like, it really doesn't matter who's back there up under center, to be honest with you, when it comes to Carolina, because this offense is centered around Christian McCaffrey. If he's healthy, yeah, sure. Throw whoever in there. It doesn't matter. Like, if you are in a space where you're at quarterback at Carolina Panthers, all I care about is the health of Christian McCaffrey. They brought in some offensive linemen to shore that thing up. They got Ikem Ekwonu, in the first round this year, and they signed a few veteran offensive linemen to kind of sew that thing up a little bit. They've struggled up front for quite some time. Right. So whoever they have at quarterback, it doesn't matter. As long as Christian McCaffrey is healthy, they can be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah. It'll be it's an interesting scenario and situation that they have up there, where now you're dealing with number 1 pick in Mayfield, a number 3 pick in Darnold, and 2 picks who literally, one, like you said, had that flash, if you will,
just a little bit,
and then it just kind of trailed off. And then the other who really, I don't know if he's had even enough success for you to even call it a flash in the league, but that's interesting to me as well, because so much attention has been paid to this battle for starting QB for the Falcons, and that's been the focal point this offseason, kind of training camp. What are we going to see there? What are we going to see in the preseason between Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, and how they measure up? But after the Panthers moved to get Mayfield, I said, I don't know. I kind of like the position and the situation that the Falcons are in with their QB battle far more than what the Panthers are dealing with. And then something that you mentioned earlier, especially if they get the help that they need from Cordero Patterson, but also from a Tyler Algier or any one of those rookies that is in that running back room.
Yeah, and that's going to be the success of that's going to determine whether or not the Falcons are a competitive team this year, whether or not they're going to be able to run the football. And because we all know Arthur Smith and what he wants to do and what he's tried, no matter how much he doesn't want to admit that you can't transfer things or transfer success from team to team. I think that there's always a game plan, though. There's always a foundation when you're talking about building a house. If you want to build a house, this red and black house down there, Mercedes-Benz, I know it's already, the structure is there, but when you're trying to build a team that can perform on week in and week out, or at 1 o'clock on Sundays, you have to be able to run the football. That's just the only way it's going to work, given what Arthur Smith is trying to do. So, if Tyler Algier had messed us around and rushes for 800 yards and averaging 4.5 or 4.7 yards a carry, Falcons going to be cooking with grease, that's for sure.
Exactly. And, you talk about performing, and there is a guy just up the road from us who really performs at a high level on the court, but it's what he does off the court that makes us just smile here at ATL Day One. So we'll talk about it in For the Culture on the other side.
Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. And we also want to just thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And always remember that we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure go ahead and give us a 5-star review and let everybody know how great we are. Because that's just how we get down. We just doing our doggone thing over here at Locked On Sports Atlanta. Now, T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes wherever the heck we want to talk about. And as I was kind of talking about for in our pre-show meeting, like when I came across this video, it was it's something that just made me smile, and I was like, yeah, we got to talk about this. And the thing about it is Ja Morant has making people smile all the time by watching him play basketball because he's so dynamic and so athletic and just is just a walking highlight film. Almost Vince Carter, like, yeah, I said it,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, like he's a guy that you want to watch when he's on the court. But I think this instance right here where he was just sitting down in the restaurant and kind of on the phone and everything, and the waitress walked over, and it was so funny. Like, she had no idea who he was, and saw that on the receipt he had got he gave her a $500 tip for her service, and she was just trying to ask him some questions, and it was kind of interesting because she was just like, she genuinely had no clue who she was. She's like, you play basketball or football or something? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, what school? You know, because she thought he was kind of like
Right.
kind of like a teenager or something, maybe in high school. He was like, oh yeah, I play for the Grizzlies. She was like, oh, are you Jerome? She was fumbling around with his name. I was like, he's like, I'm Ja Morant. And then she just took off running, left the receipt there. And I was like, you left your tip back there too, So, but I think it was just a cool thing to see, to be able to see a young brother like that, just giving back, and pointing to folks, financially, because he can, and genuinely doing it. And I just love to see stuff like that when online when it happens.
Oh yeah. And I had something happen this past weekend, and granted, we were rushing, trying to get to the airport because you never want to get to Hartsfield late, right? And so we were about five, yeah, exactly. So we were about 5, maybe 10 minutes off schedule, and I was like, well, we better hurry up and stop at this Burger King. So we stopped at the Burger King on Candler. I see the manager, ask her, can we go in? She says yes, and then they're like moving slow as molasses. She then tells me, hey, or I tell her, hey, we're kind of like running behind. Can you help us here? And she was like, ma'am, I heard you in the parking lot. And I was like, oh, okay, I better pipe down. So I was like, I better pipe down. And then this lady comes in, and when I tell you that she berated and read the frontline worker like top to bottom, front to back over some lettuce, lettuce. And I said to myself, like, the lady's just doing her job. Like, they asked you, what is it that you want us to do? Do you want us to give you another burger? I mean, what do you want? We can do that for you. But she just continued to go in. And so I look at that situation and how patient that frontline worker was. And I just told her afterwards, I just, gave her a little hug over the counter and said, hey, hang in there. You're doing great. Thank you so much for what you did for us to get us out of here quickly. Just, be blessed, and kind of like moved on. But I'm like, man, that situation could have gone, how it could have gone.
Especially how things have been going these days.
Right. Yes. So I juxtapose that situation where this lady literally is read up and down for maybe a piece of lettuce or some cheese that wasn't on a burger, in this situation where this lady is just doing her job, and she comes upon somebody who appreciates her. So we may not all have $500 tips to give to like Ja did, but I thank him for what he did for her. And we all need to just take a step back, Jarvis, and breathe these days, and understand that everybody's under a lot of stress and pressure. And instead of you going in on somebody, maybe take a step back and show them a little love. And that might actually make your situation a little bit different. Just saying.
No doubt about it. You want to make a little bit of difference in how you get up in the morning? T, tell them how they can get down with Coffee 8.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting with bated breath, and this is so serious because I absolutely love tea, but I'm going to tell you about a place that if you are driving in Atlanta traffic for your morning commute, which most of us do, mine is at the crack of dawn, so I don't see much traffic at 5:30, but I'm sure just an hour or two later, it gets to be crazy. That's why you need Coffee AM. It's Atlanta-based, and it's a small batch coffee roaster that you should definitely check out. Best small batch coffee roaster in the country. So literally, fresh coffee you can get, because most of the coffees are actually roasted and shipped the same day or maybe close to it, and they only roast current crop, specialty grade coffee. And like I said, they have a really large selection: organic, fair trade, direct trade, expertly crafted blends that they get from all over the world, and gourmet teas, and even gifts that you can give. So think about it. It's right in our backyard. So why not support a local business? Go to coffeeam.com/locked on today. Take a look at their full menu of coffees and, yes, gourmet teas that I'm waiting to get and check out, and gift sets. That's coffeeam.com/locked Locked On, and use that coupon code Locked On so you can check out and get 15% off on your first order.
Go ahead and use that code Locked On. It's easy. Locked On Sports Atlanta, 15% off with Coffee AM. Just drop in Locked On. We really appreciate it if you do that because it is some good stuff. I promise you, I've been on the last few days. Whew. I'm running through the days like it ain't nothing, T. But before we get out of here, though, T, we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just recently broke up with another girlfriend because, that's just how he gets down. He just can't figure it out for some odd reason. I think. But I think in celebration of the breakup, he went out and got a tattoo. Now, mind you, Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old, and he just got his first tattoo. Let me ask you this, T. How old is too old to get your first tattoo? Because I just think 38 might just be over the top a little bit.
No, actually, I can remember years ago when I lived in Jersey, and we were having this conversation like at a cookout, and one of the sorors was about to turn 40. And she was saying, and so some of the others kind of chimed in, that they were all getting, am I allowed to say tramp stamp? I think I am, because that's not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, tramp stamp is cool. Yeah.
So they were talking about like.
What you're talking about.
That folks call a tramp stamp. And they were thinking about getting that in celebration of their 40th. So I'm going to say at a milestone birthday, maybe you do it. But just out of like nowhere because you had yet another breakup. I mean, you do this so often. I mean, how many you're going to be tatted up. I mean, you're going to have sleeves by the time you're 40 because, I mean, you seem to break up with a girl every time we look up and they. I just want him to understand that maybe there's a common denominator and maybe instead of going to get tatted up, maybe you should get therapied up. Kind of see who the common denominator is. Just saying. But I'm not going to talk about you too badly, Aaron Rodgers, because hey, I'm single too. So there's that. But anywho,
say that conversation for another day.
Exactly. We are not having that conversation today, but tomorrow we might have that conversation. And we are also hopefully going to talk about a brave sweep. Boy, oh boy, would that be great for them to end that series with the Cardinals. Maybe we'll bring you some Hawks news. We will see. We're watching it with bated breath as free agency has kind of quieted down. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Dream, too, what they are looking at in terms of the back half of their season and how great things are going for them as we move into this all-star weekend for the Dream. So be safe out there, guys. It is still hot, and we want you to come back tomorrow. So make sure you are safe in those ATL streets. See ya.
Y'all come back now, you hear?